Okay, so let me start out with this generational lens. Right now, I'm just going to do North America, because if I do the whole world, it gets very, very complicated. So just if you look at the North American workforce, there are 4 generations working side by side. The oldest, most experienced people in the workforce today are those born before 1946. And some demographers call them the silent generation. I've never understood that. I call them the Schwarzkopf generation, with all due respect. Remember General Schwarzkopf? He's the fellow who ran the first Gulf War. That's 6.5% of the workforce. And then you have those born 1946 to 1964. That's 42% of the workforce, the baby boomers. Then you have those born 1965 to 1977. That's almost 29% of the workforce. That's the much vaunted Generation X. And now, there is a new young workforce. There is a new young workforce, those born 1978 and later. Depending on what state you're in, the youngest people in the workforce today were born in either 1992 or 1993. Are you with me? Like, where were you in 1992? Right, you're like, I know a lot of you are like, I think I was at a meeting just like this one. Right? And they were getting born. Okay? And sometimes I'll start talking about these things, and somebody will actually raise their hand and say, wait a second. Haven't there always been different people of different generations working side by side? Why are we talking about this now? There are 3 things that are different about age diversity in the workplace today. The first one is what we call the numbers problem. The numbers problem. And I bet you're already facing it. On one end of the spectrum, the workforce is getting older. On the other end of the spectrum, the workforce is getting younger. And in the middle, the prime age workforce is shrinking as an overall percentage of the workforce. This is especially true in certain industries, and yours is one of them. So on one end of the spectrum, we have what we call the age bubble. 6.5% of the workforce was born before 1946, but nowadays, every single day, 8,000 to 10,000 baby boomers turn 60. Every single day. And this is filling up what demographers call the age bubble. Over here, you have the youth bubble. The fastest growing segment of the workforce is made up of those born 1978 and later. They are flooding into the workforce now. So you have an age bubble and a youth bubble, and in the middle, there's a gap. Now, over here in the age bubble, you have the collective skill, knowledge, wisdom, institutional memory, relationships, and the last vestiges of the old-fashioned work ethic. What are we going to do when they start retiring? Over here in the youth bubble, there's a whole new attitude coming to work. And in the middle, the prime age workforce is shrinking. Now, this is what we call the numbers problem, and it raises a whole bunch of very important issues. A knowledge transfer on the oldest end of the spectrum, flexible retention on the oldest end of the spectrum. In the middle, it's getting people through that mid-career transition and keeping them so they become bench strength for senior leadership. And on the youngest end of the spectrum, it's attraction, selection, onboarding, up-to-speed training, performance management, dealing with all of those unreasonable demands, and then figuring out how to retain the best people longer and how to squeeze the low performers out before you've invested too much in them. Those are the strategic issues affected by the age bubble and the youth bubble. That's the numbers problem. Here's the second problem. There used to be a very simple way of sorting out age diversity in the workplace. It was called the seniority system. And here's how it worked. You see, the older, more experienced people were in charge, and that's how it worked. The younger, less experienced people did as they were told, and it worked like a charm. Right? You were supposed to keep your head down, keep your mouth shut, and do as you were told. You were supposed to pay your dues and climb the ladder. You weren't supposed to make demands of your boss on day one. You were supposed to keep your head down, keep your mouth shut, and wait for your boss to notice you. You were supposed to wait for the system to take care of you in the long term. But that seniority system is breaking down now for 2 reasons. The first reason is on the business side. On the business side, the only thing that matters nowadays is productivity and quality, getting more work and better work out of fewer people. And when that's what's going on, more, better, faster, it matters a whole lot less where you've been and what you've done, and it matters a whole lot more what you can do for us today, tomorrow, and next week.